One.
All right, we've been talking all morning long, all afternoon long, depending on what time zone you live in, about the situation in Syria. If you'd listen to the president's critics on both the left and the right, you'd think this is going to lead simultaneously to the Kurds begging Assad to work with them, lead to ISIS overnight reforming, and lead to our allies who've been there for us time and time again being massacred by the Turks. Now, none of those things are true, at least from my perspective, and that's why the journalism of the American Conservative, a magazine that I guess you'd describe as paleo-conservative, but it used to just be called conservative, the American Conservative has been leading the way in pointing out the conservative arguments for non-intervention in places like the Middle East, and I am thrilled that we're joined by Kelley Vlahos, the executive editor of the American Conservative. Kelley, thanks so much for joining us on Liquid Lunch.
Thanks for having me.
So, from what you can tell, is there a little bit of hypocrisy from people like Liz Cheney, Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, and the rest of the chorus of critics that have been very vocal?
I might take a different tact. I don't think that they're hypocritical. I just think that they're consistent. I mean, you're talking about people who have been supporting, promoting, have been unflagging in terms of their beating of the war drums. So whether it be on Iran or Syria, Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan, they would rather see our footprint and other countries expand rather than retract. So I don't think that they're being hypocritical. I just think they're being true to form.
All right, and Kelley, explain to us why the different criticisms that we've heard are inaccurate. Why, as Lindsey Graham said, will this not allow ISIS to reform? Is there a danger that ISIS could reform in Syria?
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with your audience, and this is where I feel like I can be of a help, because if you know our magazine, we have been consistently anti-interventionist since the magazine was founded in 2002 by Pat Buchanan and others. So I'm coming to you as someone who does want to see the U.S. get out of Syria. I do believe that Lindsey Graham and the others are being hyperbolic when they talk about ISIS resurging because of us getting our 50 guys out of there. I do feel, and I'll be honest, that I think that there is some risk at giving Erdogan a green light to invade and sweep aside the Kurds, because there is a huge detention center there with, I think, 14,000, could be 11,000 ISIS fighters there, which I think if there is a conflict that a lot of those guys might escape. So you'll have ISIS fighters in the region that maybe had been behind bars in the last 3 months. So yeah, there's a risk of violence, but that does not preclude our magazine and people on our side of the fence advocating for us to get out of Syria, because we don't see that there's ever been a clear policy for being in Syria in the first place. So I don't think the whole idea that ISIS is going to come back and resurge is good enough to say that we need to stay in there indefinitely.
And in a nutshell, Kelley, give me your take on where you think we're headed with impeachment. A lot of folks think that the president was so eager to make this announcement on Syria now, in some ways, to get the impeachment debate off the front page. How do you see the impeachment inquiry playing out?
You know what? I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't feel comfortable prognosticating on that. What I do see here in Washington is there is tremendous momentum on the Never Trumper side to keep to build this impeachment case against the president. And after today's news that the Trump administration is not going to comply with the investigation in any shape, way, or form, is emboldening the other side. But I have seen no evidence that his support is waning among his base and, in general, Republicans in Washington. So I can't say where it's going, but I don't think that there's a clear sign that they are any closer to impeaching the president than they were, say, last week or last year. I think that it could go, I think it could go in the president's favor if this drags out and his base becomes even more emboldened ahead of the election,
Kelley,
to keep him in office.
We're gonna have to leave it there, but I do hope you'll come back. I'm a big fan of your work in the American Conservative, and if people haven't read your story about the forgotten history about the Black pro-life movement, we're going to link to it on our Liquid Lunch TV Twitter page. I hope they'll check it out. And we'll continue with you next. Rumor has it that John Tobacco may be Skyping in from wherever in the world he's playing bocce. I hope you'll be with us next. This is Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV.